Please join me in welcoming both LeGrand Crewse, the CEO of Super 73, all the way from California, got in this morning, along with Carson Brown, the co-founder and head of product of Taur. Let's join me in welcoming them. All right. All right. Where are you guys? Okay, and hopefully you're noticing we got product on both ends of this. Some of the most amazing products really in the space. So thank you both for coming and participating. So community-led growth, again, I think it could be a buzz term, but I really think there's something here, and I think it's a great way to run a business. I think to either of you, both have built amazing communities. How do you think about community, and how would you define what you're trying to do with your community, with your companies?
Well, I guess I have the mic here, so I guess I'll go first.
Sure.
Yeah, so the way that we think community is, our product is not, it's not one that we haven't set up as a shared product. We're not out there, with an app where you can go check this out and write it down the street and leave it to the next person. So, we've really had to think hard about, are we creating a single purchase item, something that you buy once and that's it, and that's your only interaction, or is there a pathway to engage more with the brand? And so from the very beginning, Super 73, we were a crowd-funded company to begin with. So the community thing actually is in our DNA. Our company wouldn't exist if there wasn't a really rabid, base of early adopters that gave us a chance, invested in an idea, and really created this product and this company. And so we took that from 6 years ago and we said, okay, we did the whole crowdfunding thing. We have these amazing fans and these people that really believe in the brand, so much so that they waited a year and a half to get product. Yep. And how do we build and deliver more for not those people, but how do we bring other people into the fold as well? And so everything we do is really kind of related to community. It's one of our kind of core, I don't want to say differentiators, but one of the things that we know kind of innately how to do. And so we've actually taken that, all the way down these different steps. And the latest step is earlier this year we announced that we were making electric motorcycles. Woo! So that's exciting. Something that's new for the brand. We've never done it before. Okay, so we're going into a whole new segment, a whole new product. So what we decided to do is, before we just go launch something out to the world, we said, hey, we have this production intent concept. We intend to build this, but we're not all the way finished with that production process. So we're going to have an opportunity for our community to participate in seeing this from a concept all the way to a reality. Yep. And so we have this reservation system. We've allowed people to participate in that. We actually now have polled those people, and that direct feedback is going back to the product. So this is just one way that, again, we're engaging that community, bringing them full circle into deciding what it is that we bring to market. Yep. And putting the features and the performance and everything else that they want. Yep. So that's how we're attacking it.
But we want to hear from Carson on this. But how many people in this room had heard of Super 73 before just right now? Okay, so you're 5,000 miles from home and you're still penetrating. How many people have seen some of the YouTube videos or the YouTube channel they have, by chance? Okay, just an amazing form of community. You can subscribe to their channel. Just one of the many avenues that you're on. Okay, so Carson, let's go to you. You were at Micromobility America all of 7 months ago, I think, starting to build your community. Maybe while LeGrand is 6 years in, love to hear your story and how you're building your community.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little bit earlier, but we have, I guess, quite a lot of parallels in that we saw this kind of feedback loop as being community. It's like you have a conversation with a group of people, you engage with them, they provide feedback, and they tell you how they're going to use this in their lives. And we see the place where scooters is as being a couple years before where e-bikes are, kind of in the growth of the market and how it's been adopted. And needing that feedback, needing to resonate, and needing to start a tribe that doesn't currently exist. Like, as an electric scooter brand, we looked around and went, yeah, there are product problems, but there's actually no lifestyle. There's you can't picture yourself on this thing. And doing a Kickstarter and engaging with that audience and hearing what they thought and presenting it in a way that was new to them and really leveraging things that Super 73 also do exceptionally well with video and content like that, make people envision what it could look like. And we think that you can do that as a brand, but when you bring other people along with you, you'll be able to do it a lot easier. So that's where we see community within our picture.
Yeah, and maybe one thing for either of you. I mean, and LeGrand, you spoke to the electric motorcycle you're launching. If I draw parallels to the auto industry, of course, you would have events. They would have concept cars. Oftentimes, they're so hard to get out off the ground. One, of course, is the R&D cost, but then it's the channel almost, where you both, whether it's from Kickstarter or, of course, just selling a direct-to-consumer model, it must be pretty amazing to be able to come up with something, concept it, and immediately kind of see the demand via deposits or waiting lists. Any just strategy there in terms of how you're thinking about going into the motorcycle space, coming up with a radical design, it looks like, and then where's the demand coming from? Because in many ways it's almost it's in many ways a new community that you're building within your community. Just for either of you, I'd just be curious on strategy.
Yeah. So, going back to again, how does this come full circle for us? Well, on the motorcycle side, again, it's a whole new segment. But when we look at that segment, what we're not trying to do is, convince motorcycle riders to come to our product. And again, this goes back to why is the community so important? Well, what we've developed is a product for our existing customers. So what we're actually doing is we are reacting to our customers that are telling us, hey, we're really interested in this step-up product. There's no alternatives in the market. You are a trusted brand. Why don't you make this? And we actually, we don't do maybe these, huge focus groups like, you would have a big automotive player do. But, we had a survey that went out about 18 months ago to our customers. And, we had on the product roadmap this, move to, do electric motorcycles. And, there's question marks on timing and what would we really do there. But we actually asked our community, hey, what percentage of you would be interested in this? And we were actually shocked at the response. And so it kind of accelerated our plans about a year and a half ago. And again, it's just having that direct connection with the community allows us to be more agile, but it also allows us to kind of get ahead of maybe some of these trends. And the customers, a lot of times, they know what their pain points are before we know it. And granted, until you show them a product that a lot of people don't know what they want, but if we understand what their pain points are, what is lacking, then it really can help feed into creating a solution. And that's ultimately what we're doing, right? Is we're creating a solution for a problem. So understanding the problem, that community will definitely let you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Carson, anything to add there?
Yeah, on our side, it's interesting. I think we often mention this, that prior to us, we've always felt like the conversation about scooters has been overly dominated by the shared space. If you say scooters to people, most people are thinking what is distributed on the streets in their cities as opposed to something that they could own. And that's because how they were introduced to the majority of people. So we had an interesting challenge, which has a lot of parallels, is that we wanted to hear feedback from those who are not scooter riders already. I mean, Reddit has subreddits on scooters that are huge, great communities, very active, a lot of views on things, but they're not people who haven't ridden. They're not the people who would do it but don't know yet. So I think that for us as a strategy, that it was clear that we had to tap into that, and that wasn't available without doing it ourselves.
Gotcha. Okay, Maria has joined us, which is great. I was like, where is Maria? Maria's coming at it from a slightly different angle. The good news is, while there's no vehicle on stage, Maria does have her product on stage, which is very exciting, and I really think speaks to the broader ecosystem of micromobility, where it's not just about vehicles. Of course, we all believe it's not about specs, it's about smiles. And I think Maria has a wonderful thesis and a wonderful company complementing the overall micromobility ecosystem. So Maria, maybe just a quick introduction and background on your business.
Sure. So I'm the founder and CEO of Campo. We do bags, bike bags, and backpacks designed specifically to make micromobility a more seamless part of your life. They're waterproof, reflective, lots of pockets, and designed to go with you throughout your day. So I have a couple bags here, but that's my background in Campo. And like the other brands here, I would say community is part of our core DNA. My background is industrial design, and always designing product with the customer is part of how I do that. And really wanting to build Campo with our customer and not just for them. So we invite them along every step of the product development journey. We do introduce products throughout the year, so it's a very quick ongoing process, which is part of the fun thing with bags. Very short development time compared to hard goods. And everything from new styles, new features, new colors, places to sell them. Everything informs our business.
Amazing. Have you two talked about any apparel collaborations?
Not yet. We'll have to do that after this.
LeGrand, let's talk about that real quick. I think Super 73 is so well known for doing a lot of collaborations, what's the strategy with collaboration? Whether it's, of course, I think you have a lot of celebrities that are using your product, but also just, some of the different designs and some of the special editions. Just curious if there's a real strategy there, or you're just kind of feeling it out.
There's definitely a strategy, in place. I mean, we can't say yes to everybody, obviously, and we got to be careful about that. But I think that one of the things that we've looked at, in terms of collaboration specifically, is we try to collaborate with either brands or other communities, where there is not necessarily some crossover in the traditional sense, where you would think, give you an example, a YSL, Saint Laurent, like why the heck would we do a collaboration with them, or vice versa? Why would they do it with us? I think was the bigger question. An e-bike company, but we don't think of ourselves that way, and we think of ourselves as a lifestyle adventure brand. And that YSL opportunity was an opportunity for us to touch a different consumer, to get in front of a different customer, and to have a product that is in the mobility space, but that is aspirational and that means something different. Again, shared mobility, awesome, amazing, in so many respects, and bringing this to the masses, but there's still room for that elevated product. And so, that was a great example of us doing something specifically because we want to show, I guess, the world that, hey, e-bikes can be cool, and they can be aspirational. It can be, I wouldn't want to say an accessory, but it can be something that just as, again, don't understand it, but a $5,000 bag, means something, same kind of thing here. So again, a lot of the collaborations, if you look at them carefully, it's because we're getting in front of audiences that the traditional, means of advertising, wouldn't do. And again, it's a way to expand the community into something more. Our community isn't just cyclists, and it's not just commuters, and it's not just motorcycle riders, right? It's literally, everybody. If you move and get around and you're a human, then, you belong in our community.
Maybe a question on that. So I think it's Custom 73, but, I get quite a few emails from different people that are, they're building gloves, they're building helmets, they're building goggles, clearly with the Super 73 brand in mind. Are they doing that officially with you? Some of that stuff seems pretty unofficial, I would guess, but again, I'm not something that's something you want to tamper down. It seems like they're kind of building a business on top of yours, which is sort of everyone's goal as a platform. Just curious on that. Is that just people going out there and doing it, or you kind of vetting all that?
Yeah, it's a mix. It's a careful dance because we want to promote the third parties, but we have to protect obviously the brand, IP, those types of things. But we are starting to work with kind of more partners. There's certain things that make sense to do ourselves, and there's a whole lot of other things that don't. I don't know the first thing about making those bags, and you can do it, much better and quicker and more efficiently than we can, right? So it makes sense to partner, with others in that. But ultimately, again, it's that ecosystem. It's how do you bring that whole entire lifestyle? It's not just, the bike or that product. It's, how does that fit in? What happens when you go get groceries? What happens when you have to go pick up the kids from school? And what all feeds into making this truly part of your lifestyle and getting away from, driving in a 2,000 kilogram car to go, a few kilometers.
Yep.
Right.
Gotcha. All right. How many people have shopped for micromobility accessories out there? Okay. We got some work to do, Maria. I'd love to understand the customer journey to Campo and sort of like where do you see the customer coming from, and of course how do you build momentum on that so accessories continue to grow in this community?
Yeah, for us, we find that people come to look for accessories once they're getting into that more enthusiastic stage. So not when they're dabbling, then they'll just wear their backpack or whatever. But once it's something like, I want to do this more, and I want something that's going to help me do this more. And that's really the role that we play. It makes it easier. It makes micromobility a more seamless part of your life, so you can enjoy the freedom and joy every day.
So how much is it about getting into the channels with, say, the vehicle providers versus, building your own channel, building your own sort of Shopify experience or experience where people coming directly to you via search, because they have to, like you're saying, they sort of qualify themselves in. They've developed a passion or a habit, and now they start to shop. Just curious on where you think that what the best channel is, I guess, for that journey.
Well, Campo is omni-channel, but I think more relevant to this conversation is how we leverage our community to help make that happen.
Yep.
And I think when we start to think about what you want your community to be, there's this like dream of every founder who loves their brand so much that there's just going to be a bunch of people who love your brand just like you do.
Yep.
But that's not really the case, We have found it more impactful to tie the community to a higher purpose. So it's not just the love for the brand, which nobody can match my love for my brand, obviously. And for our community, it is that kind of, they've discovered this life outside of the car. They either live car-free, car-light lifestyles, and it's been so transformative for them and their family that they want to help accelerate that. So to find ways to show other people how to try it and do it.
Yep.
And so we really empower, support, and celebrate the people in our community who are doing that. And it can be anything from like, oh, we want to do a ride with people who've never ridden with their kids before. Could you donate some products so there's a prize to get people to come? Things like that. And really help to kind of nurture that passion for it as part of what makes the community. And then they do want to connect with each other because they'd be like, oh, that's so cool. How did you do that? I want to do that the same thing in my area.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe if we go to Carson. Carson, you have a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience, a lot of people that are probably thinking about launching and thinking about their community strategy. It'd be great to hear from you on, of course, the positives of something like Kickstarter and maybe some of the negatives or downsides just in starting that way.
Yeah, I would say in general, like first and foremost, engage. Kickstarter on an upside, I would say, I was really blown away at the beginning of a campaign when we got various feedback, sometimes really long form, and you may have experienced this as well, but longer emails than I'm comfortable sending to most people, but with such consideration to like how much effort's gone into the product, and it was almost a bit unsettling because you're like, you can see that,
Yeah.
And the things that they were suggesting, it wasn't like they were like, oh, you should do this. It was like, when you were looking at this area of the product, did you consider this? Like, I'd like to use it for my trips to some, and taking that feedback and actually like letting that resonate. I would recommend that. I would also say that within the Kickstarter community, like respect the community. So there are a lot of campaigns, there's a lot of companies, a lot of exciting product and innovations in the world. If you do choose to go that route, we took it very seriously and went like, how can we do something that's actually exciting for that community? Like, how can we make people fans of Taur, even if they don't want to buy a scooter today? Maybe they will see us in a few years and be like, oh, I remember when they were on Kickstarter. I'm so in, I'm so up for it. But in general, just to kind of try and elevate that week that we're on the Kickstarter or that month we're on the Kickstarter platform. From a con side, I think there's obviously a balance with there are certain backers who come in and they understand the frustrations of shipping a hardware product. It's not easy. I know that the team are actually all hard at work back in London and were in late last night with us. They can't see that. So it's a little bit difficult to always convey that, and I think that there is a little bit of a disconnect, but I think over time we found that the people who have stuck with us are like our most loyal fans, and we're like always grateful for that they trusted us to deliver.
Yes. Yeah. Something we, I think, strive really hard at Micromobility is to not be political in nature, to not ostracize anyone. And clearly you're all, CEOs and founders of companies. You can't build a product where you only, have 40% ideally over time. You're looking for much bigger market shares in your categories. I'm curious how you develop community and micromobility is a very politicized thing in general. If you look at it, in the U.S. and here in Europe, in terms of generally the people that would exist in it. I know in Southern California, one of the most amazing things I saw in micromobility was going to Oceanside, which is where Camp Pendleton is, which is the largest U.S. Marine base, and seeing how many, what they call jarheads riding e-bikes, which I think is a very good sign. It's not been politicized. It's not something that only, say, the left does in the U.S., which is great. But I'm just curious there. Communities can often become political. I mean, we were in a highly political environment. Do you get into politics? Do you stay after it? Do you stay out of it? Do you take a stand? Just curious there.
I can talk to this one. I firmly believe that it's for the smiles, and right and left all think it's fun. So using that as the anchor.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that we all share. It's the community value. And so if something starts to skirt, it's just squashed. That's not for here.
Yep.
And I think having that shared anchor and that we all want to celebrate this thing together, and it is a universal thing, that doesn't need to be politicized, and people want it to be pleasurable or fun. I don't get too worried about it.
Cool.
All right, so I think back again. Been doing this for a while. I think 11 years in the electric mobility, but 6 years with Super 73. And one of the things that from the very beginning we chose to just be authentic to ourselves. We had a pretty diverse founding group. Come from a very diverse area with a lot of different thoughts, political opinions, etc. And so, as we kind of built the company and as we've, really engaged the community, what we've chosen to do is, again, create something that kind of, resonates on a real basic level for everybody. So with our vehicles in the US and specifically, we've never led with, hey, it's good for the environment. Hey, we're getting you out of your cars. You're, putting less carbon in the atmosphere. I mean, we have never led with any of those things. We have led with, hey, we have a cool, fun, awesome product. It looks sexy. It, performs amazingly well, and it can be an accessory to your lifestyle, or it can become your lifestyle. And so we've really led with that. And what that's allowed us to do in places like the Midwest that are, they tend to, things start in the coasts in the U.S. and they eventually trickle to the middle of the country over the course of, 5 to 10 years. And so, it's a way for us to be able to resonate with people that do care about the environment. They do care about those aspects, along with people that just want to just have fun, and if it happens to be electric, well, then it happens to be electric.
Yep.
So that's really worked well for us. And it's not that we're trying to skirt some line. It's just being authentic. It's like, how do we focus on the things that bring people together as opposed to the things that will split them apart?
Yep. Carson, yeah, loved your perspective on.
Yeah, I don't feel like I have a huge amount to add. I think we could all agree that freedom of movement shouldn't be politicized.
Yep.
That making things fun, easy, affordable, and aspirational is a goal. I think it's a challenge that I think we're all addressing through design in our own ways, where we are trying to create products that are of such an ilk that they bring people in as opposed to push them out. And that's across the whatever political aisles are there in whatever country you're from.
Yep. Maria, let's go to you. So, if I think about other categories, even mobility categories, clearly probably, Nike being the best example. Ultimately, a shoe company, an apparel company that really stands for so much more now, right? It's sort of, it's considered, it's often credited with the performance of the athletes and all of these things. But at its core, it's apparel. Like, in micromobility, like what can PoCampo become for the consumer? Like, what feeling do you want to leave them with? And then how do you think about community? Like, do you think there's the grand ambition to be as big in the category from an apparel perspective as a Nike is to, running, basketball, soccer, all the sports that they're in?
I don't think it quite like Nike, but what I do think of is that I think of like the 2000s, yoga took over, and Lululemon kind of led the movement there. And when you think of snowboarding, Burton was the brand that kind of like represented that. I feel like micromobility is also on a precipice into a whole new movement, a consumer lifestyle movement shift. It's exciting. That's why we're all here. It's like a revolution. And there's going to be a brand that also is that. So that's what PoCampo is going to be. And how I see it playing out is just, close my eyes, go in the future. All these bikes, whatever vehicles, scooters going by, and there will be a PoCampo something on everybody. And it'll just be like, that's the brand that knows what this is and supports and celebrates this lifestyle.
Great. On that, so how would you describe your ideal customer profile today? Like, who is it that you're going after?
Yeah, our customers range from like 25 to 45 roughly in that area. And we have some like cyclists, but the ones that we feel have the most growth potential are more just getting into it now. And part of that is because people who've been biking for 20 years, they have a very clear picture in their head of what like bike gear is, and that's not what we make. Whereas people who are coming into the movement now, they're doing it because it's good for the environment, it's fun, it's part of their lifestyle, it's part of who they want to be, you know, as a sustainable lifestyle, and looking for products that help them do that.
Okay. You mentioned age. You didn't mention gender. Are you sort of equally going after both male and female from a apparel perspective, or is there a focus there?
Well, for Campo, we're more women for sure.
Okay.
I would say like 70 to 80% more. Part of that is because I started it, and I was sick of all the stuff for dudes in the bike world, and wanted there to be a better diversity. And actually, I'm really thankful that we started that way, because designing for women bike commuters, it has to be like the most discerning group, you know? Like they're carrying a lot more every day. They're worried about safety. They have, for better or for worse, you have this appearance that you need to maintain all day long. And so being able to dial in the product to support that and to meet that high demand, now we're branching out to other consumer groups and to more men. We're ready. And to just grow the brand some more.
Let's talk about this. So, amazing challenge I think you have, an opportunity I think is, you know, what Horace and I both believe is that when, you know, micromobility will have arrived when this conference is basically half and half, male and female. When we started, it was like literally 95%, and you know, Horace remarked about it, but this year it's getting even better. And clearly, this is a bit more of a B2B trade, so it's not necessarily the customer and end customer, but you're going after an ideal customer profile that is still a little bit unbalanced, at least in the U.S. Here in, of course, Amsterdam, you see everyone riding, which is so amazing. But how do you think about the growth of women micromobility ridership? How do you help sort of make that happen? Because in many ways, of course, the vehicles, you know, you can make the apparel, but is it some of the manufacturing, some of the end user brands that also need to help you with targeting, your ideal customer profile, or can you just kind of take it on yourself and say this trend is going to happen? Let's get it in there early and lean into it.
I think we want everybody to use micromobility, right? Not just guys in their 20s.
Yep.
And so I would encourage all the vehicle makers and brands to bring in those insights from other people from the very beginning of the design process. Even for Campo, it's a real value of us that we want our products to reflect the diversity of our community. And a lot of those insights you really need to glean from the people that you want to design for. So starting as early as possible with talking with other people, not like yourself, to just find out what insights there are, I think is critical.
Yeah, okay. So just a personal story, I have 80 bikes at home. I have Van Moofs and Rad Powers and Super 73s. And my wife's always like, why is there another bike in the garage? And I say, well, like, basically, if I sold the F-150, I can afford like 35 of these. So I'm still, net positive. One thing, just anecdotally, that's very interesting. People come over and they ride a lot of my bikes. The women that come over almost uniformly choose the Super 73. And again, I don't say anything. I'm very curious which bike they're going to pick up of all the bikes. Why is that? What do you think that is? Intentional, unintentional? How are you doing so well? And again, small sample size, but it seems like you have a lot of appeal with women. What's going on there?
Yeah. Okay. So you said something that I'll repeat because you said it is there's a certain aesthetic, right? You care about how you look, and what that is. So obviously the aesthetics of our product is very important. The design is very important. The colors, the way that all comes together. So I think that is appealing. But as we've thought about it internally. And again, going all the way back from the beginning, and this is something we've been very consistent with, is we've never gone out of our way to say, okay, all right, guys, we're going to create a new product just for women, and it's going to be these colors and this size, and that's it, and we're going to have this whole marketing campaign. We've instead chosen to say, hey, our product is for everybody, and we're just going to create it that way, and we have some that are for shorter people, some for taller people, and we have some brighter, louder colors, which, by the way, pretty popular with guys too, especially younger demographic that tends to be more of our customers, and so we've done that approach. And again, it's worked really well for us. And like you said, we don't have to say anything. It doesn't have to have a separate sub-brand, a special name. It doesn't have to have a special color, but you're going to get kind of this natural attraction. And I'll just leave with one anecdote, and I won't name the company specifically, but I remember interviewing this person that comes from the bicycle industry, and she asked kind of a similar question of, well, what are you guys doing to drive additional females into this category? And I gave the same answer I did right now, and she came from this very large organization and said, we spend all this time and money in these groups and all this stuff to target, and she goes, I feel more at home with your brand than I do with my own company that has this big focus. So again, I think it goes back to that authenticity. Really truly build a product and market it for truly everybody, and I think that's what you'll get in return in terms of your customers.
Okay, we're out of time. Real quick lightning round though. Carson, let's go start with you. Just best tip to entrepreneurs out there. What's the number one tool you tell them for community? If they're starting today, they got an idea, they got a dream, where should they start with community from a tooling perspective? Kickstarter, Twitter, Reddit you mentioned, anything just specifically you would dig into?
I'd say actually they should start outside. COVID is hopefully on the wane.
Yep.
I would say use the opportunity, go out, meet people, get them on product. In my case, I got 10, 15 people on product with my co-founder, and we tried it out to see what they thought and what things worked and what things didn't. Do that.
Okay, get out there. LeGrand, for you, where's the cargo bike for my kids, man?
It's coming. So we've.
That's interesting.
Yeah, no, we've. We recently announced a youth product, and you're starting to see a lot more accessories. We haven't led with the utility piece, but we're not. We see how people use the product, and we know what people want. Trust me, the community is very loud, and we get asked that question all the time. So these things, how do we make the bikes more practical for younger riders? How do we make it more practical in terms of doing your whatever errands you have to run and things you have to carry? That stuff is all very much in process.
Awesome, love it. Maria, for you, when will the collaboration with Super 73 be announced?
I have some ideas, but I'll wait to discuss it with them first.
Amazing. Please join me. Maria, thank you so much. LeGrand, thank you so much. Carson, thank you so much. Please join me in thanking the panelists today.